Welcome to the Dogsports podcast. I'm your host, Owen Kasanovich. Happy Friday, August 14th. Lots to talk about. The play-in game in the Western Conference is set. We'll recap Thursday's action and preview the upcoming play-in game on Saturday between the Portland Trailblazers and Memphis Grizzlies. Plus, stay tuned on the weekly bubble segment. I'll give you my NBA playoff predictions and recap Thursday's action across the diamond. Welcome in, everybody. It was a great day in sports yesterday. The NBA action certainly felt like the playoffs in the bubble. Lots of important scenarios and games went on yesterday. Now let's get into it. The first game, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis needed a win to guarantee a spot in the play-in game. With the loss, they needed help from the Suns, the Trailblazers, and the Spurs, and we'll get into the Spurs in a little bit. But I want to start with the Milwaukee Bucks-Memphis Grizzlies game. The Grizzlies win 119-106. Of course, no Giannis, serving that one-game suspension for the headbutt to Mo Wagner of the Washington Wizards. And the Bucks already wrapped up the number one seed and best record in the Eastern Conference and NBA. So nothing for the Bucks to play for yesterday. But the Grizzlies did get the win. Two Grizzlies had triple-doubles. It was Jonas Valanciunas' first ever triple-double. He had a great game, a career high in assists, and John Morant got a second triple-double on the season. So the Grizzlies will be the 9 seed in the playoff game, but what else had to happen? That was the first game with major implications, and at the same time, the Phoenix Suns entered yesterday 7-0 in the bubble. They were taking on the Dallas Mavericks, who were already locked in the 7th seed. Kristaps Porzingis was resting with a bruised foot. Luka played the first half. The Suns, winners, 128-102. Terrific game from Devin Booker, had 27. And the role players for the Suns, Javon Carter, Cameron Payne, former Oklahoma City Thunder draft pick, had a good game for the Suns off the bench. The Suns really improving. They came up just short because later on in the night, we'll get to that in a moment, that featured the Trailblazers. We'll get to that in just a second, but the Suns had really an outside chance to even make it to this play-in game, and they were able to beat the Mavericks 128-102. They were sitting pretty. Devin Booker, after the game, Jared Greenberg asked him, "Are you aware of the Memphis Grizzlies score?" And I am. He was a big Brooklyn Nets supporter last night. We'll get into that in a second, but the Phoenix Suns going 8-0 in the bubble. Nobody could have expected them to have a chance. Their young talent performed great, and the Suns certainly look like they have a future moving forward. And the San Antonio Spurs, Greg Popovich at the helm has done a tremendous job, always getting his guys to play to the Spurs way. They took on the Jazz yesterday afternoon, and unfortunately, because the Grizzlies and the Suns won, the Spurs had nothing to play for and were eliminated from the play-in scenario. They needed the Blazers to lose, the Grizzlies to lose, or the Suns. They needed a combination of two of those things. And for the 9 seed, for the 9 seed, the Spurs needed losses by any two teams, which would be the Blazers, Grizzlies, or Suns. So that didn't happen. The Suns and Grizzlies won right away. But I tell you what, 22 years in a row, the Spurs made the playoffs. Tremendous run by Coach Popovich. And after the game, he didn't have a lot to say about the streak, about, are you sad the streak has come to the end? No, he wasn't sad. The important thing for him, and Pop said it, was to come here, get his young guys to play, and get better. And he definitely told the media that that's what his young players did. I mean, DeMar and Rudy Gay, their veterans, did a tremendous job. And the Spurs didn't have LaMarcus Aldridge. So the Spurs did a great job of just coming in here, winning ball games in the bubble, and trying to make another run at it to get to the playoffs, which would have been 23 years in a row. The last time the Spurs did not make the playoffs, the 96-97 season. Titanic was out, and I'm a big NBA fan, and I tell you what Pop has done with the Spurs. I mean, they they got the Ginobili, Duncan, Parker trio. They were able to win championships with them, and then they kind of take a fallback. They draft Kawhi Leonard, and everybody's like, who's this Kawhi Leonard kid? They win 2 more championships. That gives them 5. I mean, Pop has just been a tremendous coach, and we'll look forward to seeing the Spurs next season as they have a lot of young talent, specifically Keldon Johnson from Kentucky. Really picked it up in the bubble the last couple of games for them. So that left last night's huge game between Damian Lillard's Portland Trailblazers and Karis LeVert and the Nets. The Nets in the Eastern Conference had already locked up the 7th seed, and it was a very competitive game. I mean, this one was just fun to watch. Damian Lillard doing Damian Lillard things, as I like to say, Dame Dollar. I mean, he was terrific on the court. Another 40-point performance. After dropping 61 on Tuesday to keep them in it. I mean, Damian Lillard's just on fire right now. He is definitely the MVP of this bubble seeding games. So the Blazers won 134 to 133, and it wasn't without drama, of course. It came down to the last shot. The Suns were on the edge of their seats because they needed the Blazers to lose. Now, because the Suns won, Damian Lillard would have went home, last night if the Blazers lost. The Blazers, all they needed to do last night was win. And this game was so competitive. I'm on the edge of my seat. And comes down to the final shot. Nets Karis LeVert. If he makes this shot, the Blazers go home and the Suns are in. Unfortunately, Karis LeVert's late 15-foot step back off the rim, no good. The Blazers survive 134-133. Nurkic with the double-double. Yusuf Nurkic for the Blazers with a double-double. McCollum, who's playing with a fractured back. CJ McCollum playing with a fractured back, 25. And Gary Trent Jr. had 16 off the bench, and he's really stepped up his game for the Blazers. So, we'll preview this Memphis Grizzlies Portland Trailblazers showdown on Saturday. All the Blazers have to do, they are the 8 seed, is win game 1. If the Blazers win game 1 because they are the 8 seed, they will play the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. And you're thinking, well, the Blazers don't have a chance, right? I wouldn't say the Blazers don't have a chance. I would just say that LeBron is on a mission in his 17th season, and he gets out of the first round quick. And the Blazers have a lot of talent. They got Zach Collins back, Yusuf Nurkic back from injury. But they were injured prior to the shutdown in March. And so now they're healthy in this bubble, and that really added a lot more talent to the Blazers. And they don't have Trevor Ariza. He opted out, didn't come to Orlando. But I think I could see that first round series going at least 6 games. So it'll be interesting to watch Saturday. Get on your couch and watch Saturday. The Memphis Grizzlies and Portland Trailblazers. Is it enough to stay home and be able to watch this game Saturday? Probably not. It's not one of the more marquee matchups, but if you're an NBA fan, try to stay home and let your family go do something, because this is going to be fun. I mean, it's potentially 2 games for 1 spot for the playoffs. Again, if the Blazers win the first game on Saturday, they are in. The Memphis Grizzlies have to win 2. And touching on Memphis for a second, they've dealt with a lot of injuries in this bubble. They went 3-6 in the 2-6 in the seeding games. No Jaren Jackson, John Morant, and Jonas Valanciunas really carrying the workload. Dillon Brooks had 31 against Milwaukee yesterday. So the Grizzlies are a young team. Taylor Jenkins with Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta and San Antonio. Another Greg Popovich product, Taylor Jenkins. He's going to get his guys to play hard. And I just hope we have a close basketball game, and the Grizzlies are going to fight tooth and nail to try to come out with the victory. Going back to the grit and grind era in Memphis, this is what this young Grizzlies team is. So all we can hope for is a great basketball game, but I do see the Blazers coming out on top on Saturday. So moving forward, it's time for the weekly bubble segment, and I'll give you my Eastern and Western Conference playoff predictions. We'll start in the East. The Milwaukee Bucks, who didn't have a great final 8 games to this regular season, they'll be taking on the 8 seed Orlando Magic. And I know the Bucks didn't play as well as people thought they would, but they didn't really have a whole lot to play for. They wrapped up the number 1 seed in their 3rd or 4th game in the bubble for the final seeding games, and they're just kind of, I wouldn't say going through the motions, but you could tell they were just trying to get their feet wet and get ready for the playoffs. And I think they're ready. This team could definitely make a run to the finals. So I see the Bucks against the Magic. Bucks are going to sweep the Magic. They'll move on, and they will take on either the Heat or the Pacers. Now, there is some games going on that just affect seeding for the Thunder and the Rockets and the Heat and the Pacers. They could flip-flop between the 4 and the 5 seed depending on what happens, but all the matchups are set. Just we have 4 more games today to determine seeding. So the playoff field is set. It's all about just finishing up those seeds. But the Heat and Pacers will take on each other, and I have the Heat winning this series 4-2. Look, Jimmy Butler is a tremendous player, and the Miami Heat have done a tremendous job this season with their young talent of Bam Adebayo, the center, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, who's finally found it in the league after having a couple seasons in the G League. Kendrick Nunn, their point guard, also from the G League. I mean, this team has a lot of young talent, and they've beaten the Bucks. They've beaten the Bucks twice in the regular season, so it'll be a fun matchup. But I have the Heat winning against the Pacers 4-2. Look, the Pacers are a great team. They're a good story. Nate McMillan is a tremendous defensive coach, and he put together another good season for the Pacers. The 2 versus 7 matchup, Toronto and Brooklyn. It's crazy. I mean, the Raptors got better without Kawhi Leonard. Honestly, you look at their numbers, and it's very, very rare that happens, to lose your superstar player and get better as a team. Pascal Siakam, a veteran, and Kyle Lowry, who will arguably go down as probably a top 3 players in Raptors history, Raptors franchise history. I mean, he's so good, so clutch for them. A lot of talent across the board for the Raptors. Norman Powell. I mean, this team Sam Ujiri has found a way to get this team to a contending status, and they could definitely be there in the NBA Finals. But I have Toronto winning in 5 against Brooklyn. Look, Brooklyn is a great team. I mean, they don't even have some of their best players in the bubble. Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Kevin Durant's injured, Kyrie's injured. DeAndre Jordan and Spencer Dinwiddie are not in the bubble due to COVID-19. So this team just found a way to put together a roster, and they play hard, and Karis LeVert is an animal, man. Damian Lillard touched on it in his postgame. He's ice. He's ice cold. So we'll see what Karis LeVert can do, and Joe Harris and Jared Allen, but in the end, I think the Raptors have too much talent. They'll maybe concede 1 game. The Nets will get 1 game, but Toronto is moving on to that second round. And the last series, Boston versus Philadelphia. Sixers, man, they're beat up. No Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid suffered a setback, a sprained ankle. Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, a little banged up. Losing Ben Simmons, I think, hurts the Sixers. And the Sixers, it'll be interesting to see what Joel Embiid could do for the Sixers in this playoffs. But I have the Boston Celtics, who the Sixers will be taking on in the 3-6 matchup. A good old Sixers-Celtics rivalry picks back up again in the first round. And I got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker, among others, for the Celtics, winning this first round series in 6. So in the second round, the matchups will be Miami versus Milwaukee, Boston versus Toronto. And that's a great second round right there. And we'll start with the Bucks Heat series. I have the Bucks winning in 6. The Heat are a tough team. They figured out how to play Giannis. Bam Adebayo is athletic, but I have the Bucks. Bucks are on a mission, and I just think, what happened last year, they're not dwelling on it. They're ready to just go out there and get to the finals. So they'll beat the Heat in 6, reaching the Eastern Conference Finals for the second consecutive season. So who will they face? Boston versus Toronto. Look, I like the Celtics. I like them a lot. They got a lot of young talent. Brad Stevens is a great coach. Same with Nick Nurse for the Raptors. So we got two star-studded coaches going up against each other. Same with the Bucks Heat series. Coach Bud, Mike Budenholzer, and Eric Spoelstra always gets his guys to play to their style, and just tremendous coach for the Heat there. But Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens going up against each other. It's going to be a fun matchup. I just see the Raptors defense really causing issues for Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Jaylen Brown. Kemba's going to have to carry the load, and it's not that Kemba can't do it. The Raptors just so much talent. They're going to get by the Celtics in 6 games. So that means we have a rematch of last season's Eastern Conference Finals for the Bucks and the Raptors. If you remember, the Bucks were up 2-0 going into Toronto. What happened? They lost 4 straight, ladies and gentlemen, and the Raptors would eventually go on to defeat the Golden State Warriors, who were banged up a little bit, some injury. Klay Thompson got hurt, Kevin Durant got hurt, so they beat the injury-riddled Warriors in the finals, and the Raptors brought home their first championship thanks to Kawhi Leonard, who was tremendous in the postseason. So what's the outcome going to be this time? Well, it's going to go 7 games, but we have Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks getting revenge after last season's collapse in the playoffs, beating the Raptors to get to the NBA Finals. So in the Eastern Conference, it will be the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm predicting that they will build on their season last year where they reached the Eastern Conference Finals and lost 4 straight. Giannis is mad. He's angry. He's ready to prove that he is a superstar player and he's a playoff clutch player. He's going to lead his team to the NBA Finals. And look, it's all about the others, right? I mean, Eric Bledsoe specifically has to play good in these playoffs, and if he doesn't, you can expect the Bucks to not advance to the finals. I just think, as much as Chris Middleton is key to the Bucks, it's Eric Bledsoe. He's their point guard. He sets the offense, and creates the plays. I mean, when he's doing his thing, Eric Bledsoe is a top 10 guard in this league. I truly think that, and sometimes when he gets out of his element, you saw it last year in the playoffs where he drives to the baskets, forces turnovers. When he's not forcing things and he's playing within the offense and just doing what Bled can do, as they call him the Bled Show in Milwaukee, this guy is just a tremendous player for the Bucks, and he needs to be special, looking to get revenge on his poor performance in that series against the Raptors last season. So that's the key for the Bucks. The Raptors, look, the Raptors are a great team. I just think that Giannis is ready for the challenge, and the Raptors are going to throw everything they have at Giannis. It's up to Giannis to see how well he adapts, but I do think, again, the Bucks will be in the finals, representing the Eastern Conference this season in the bubble, getting revenge. So that means we move on to the Western Conference, and obviously the play-in game has to happen for the 8 seed. We don't know who that will be. But I can tell you right now, whether it's the Blazers or the Grizzlies, LeBron's not going to lose the series. I know Charles Barkley is high on the Blazers. He's sticking on the bandwagon. He says the Blazers can pull an upset on LeBron and the Lakers. It's a small chance. I mean, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but LeBron has never lost a first-round series. And it's only been one time it went to 7 games. That was when he was in his second tenure with the Cavs, his last season against Victor Oladipo and the Indiana Pacers. That series went to 7 games. He won in 7. That's not going to happen. Again, as I mentioned before, LeBron's on a mission. He and Anthony Davis, they're ready to make a run at it. You know, this season's for Kobe with the tragic events of Kobe Bryant. I mean, this season's for Kobe, and you can expect the Lakers to just do their thing in the playoffs. They got tremendous talent, a lot of depth. Kyle Kuzma, 6-man, is starting to play really good. He just hit the game-winning shot for the Lakers. So you can expect the Lakers to move on. I'm going to say if they play the Blazers, which I think they will, it's going to be in 6. The Lakers will win in 6 games. I think the Blazers will be able to outscore the Lakers because the Blazers, as we've seen in these seeding games, do not have a lot of defense. And it'll be interesting to see if they can even play some defense, but they definitely do not have any defense. As we've seen, I mean, Hassan Whiteside, he's averaging 14 rebounds. He's the leading shot blocker, but if they can't stop the Brooklyn Nets, I don't know how they're going to stop the Lakers. So I have the Lakers moving on in the 1-8 matchup. Obviously, it's very rare an 8 seed beats a 1 seed, but I have it going 6 games if they face the Blazers. Lakers moving on. 2 versus 7 matchup, kind of the same thing. Clippers, the 2 seed, facing Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. Nobody's giving the Mavericks a chance in this series. And we got to slow the brakes, folks. I mean, the Mavericks are a great team. I mean, they have the 2 stars with KP, Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, and Luka Doncic, who has played amazing in this bubble. Arguably, he could be there's 3 choices for bubble MVP in my opinion: Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, and Luka Doncic. I mean, he had that huge triple-double against the Bucks. So Luka Doncic is playing on all cylinders right now. He's really leading the charge. But the Clippers, in my opinion, have too much talent, and they're going to win their first-round series in 5 games. I do have the Mavericks getting 1 game. And the reason I think the Mavericks will just get 1 game and this series won't go longer than people, want to say or just think the Clippers will dominate is because they have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, 2 of the greatest wing defenders in this league right now. And Luka Doncic has got to face them. So the Clippers are just going to harass Luka Doncic, make it hard for him to get to the paint. I mean, Leonard's going to be all over him. Same with Paul George. They're going to take turns. They're going to pass Luka around to each other, and it's going to be interesting to see how Luka adjusts when the playoffs come. They start the 17th on Monday, but I don't know. I wanna pick an upset sometime, but I don't know if I have any. I don't think the Mavericks have enough firepower to outlast the Clippers, and I'm gonna say the Clippers wrap it up at 5, so they'll move on to the second round like the Lakers. So 2 LA teams moving on. Then in the 4 versus 5 matchup, how about this one, folks? Now, Russell Westbrook might miss a little bit of time to start the playoffs, but it would have been something if this would have matched up on paper if Westbrook wasn't hurt to start the series. How about this? Chris Paul and the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on James Harden and Russell Westbrook from the Houston Rockets. How about this? Chris Paul gets to face the team that traded him. How about that? I mean, that's just something, and I cannot wait to see this series unfold. Not gonna lie, I'm cheering for CP3. I want to see him make one more run. This Thunder team has a lot of talent. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder, Steven Adams. I mean, this Thunder team has played amazing this season, and they're 4th in the West right now. So they would get the Lakers in the second round if they won. I tell you, I cannot wait for this series, and I'm excited to see how Chris Paul takes this series. I mean, playing the team that traded you is just crazy. Steven Adams is a beast in the low post. Remember, the Rockets don't have a guy taller than 6'6", 6'7", because they went small ball. They traded Clint Capella, so they're going to be jacking up threes. That's Mike D'Antoni's style of play with, Westbrook doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but James Harden, man, Mr. Dribble over there, and we'll start the beef between Harden and Giannis again. We got that going on, but the Rockets have a different style of play, and the Thunder are just a young team. They play fast. Chris Paul has done a tremendous job over there in Oklahoma City. We'll see what happens with that, but who do I have coming out of the 4-5 matchup in the West? Well, I have the Thunder in 7 games. Now, I know I don't know if it'll go that long, but wouldn't it be something if the Thunder win? I mean, it could even go shorter. Who knows? The Rockets just might outpower them, but I think OKC can get it done. I have it in 7. So that means we have a Chris Paul, LeBron James matchup in the second round. Thunder Lakers. Little banana boat showdown between the two players, LeBron James and Chris Paul. So that'll be second round. In the last series, the 3-6 matchup. This one's a good one too. The Denver Nuggets dominated the Jazz in the regular season. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray. I mean, the Nuggets are an up-and-coming team. They have a key veteran in Paul Millsap who really locks it down at the 4 position for them. Michael Porter Jr. starting to come along for the Nuggets. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll see a lot of Ball. The rookie the Nuggets got, he started to play, and he showed he has talent, but he hasn't quite laid the framework, if you will, yet. He's very young. He hasn't played a lot this season. So I don't know if we'll see him in the playoff rotation. But we have this one going 7 games as well. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert for the Jazz. I mean, the Jazz are a good team. Quinn Snyder really gets his guys to play hard too, and they're one of the more fundamentally sound teams in basketball. Great defense, the shot blocking of Gobert, and good offense from Donovan Mitchell, who really is their point guard. But this one's also going 7, but I have the Denver Nuggets escaping the first round in 7, getting that Game 7 win. So the second round matchups are Lakers, Thunder, Nuggets, Clippers. I don't have the Clippers making it to the final. So that gives it away right there. I have the Los Angeles Lakers reaching the NBA Finals. LeBron James, as I've said, on a mission. Will he win the championship, though? We'll see. So I have Lakers, Bucks in the NBA Finals in the bubble down in Orlando. Who's going to come away as champs? Special. And LeBron has had a tremendous season. First time in his career leading the league in assists with 10 per game. I mean, just crazy. Crazy. LeBron's still at it. 17th season. Mid-30s. Guy's not backing down. It's crazy. But I think the Bucks are going to get the better of the Lakers. Of course, this is going to be a long finals, but the Bucks will win at 7. I think the Bucks, as I previously mentioned with the Raptors series when we were previewing the East, it's all about revenge, baby. You got something that fuels you, it fuels you hard. It drives you. And Giannis is a guy that gets motivated pretty easily. If you do something to tick him off or, get him on the hot seat a little bit on the edge, and he hasn't had it, the headbutt with Mo Wagner, yeah, it wasn't really, as Shaq said, it was a head push, so he got the one game for that against the Grizzlies, but Giannis isn't going to act like that. He knows better than that of himself, but he is ready, he is fired up, and he's going to give the Bucks their first championship since the 1971-72 season with Kareem and Oscar Robinson. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship. Take that as you may, but when we come back, we'll preview some of the key action from across the diamond Thursday night. Stay tuned. We'll start with Yu Darvish and the Cubs, and Yu Darvish, how about carrying a no-no all the way to the 7th inning before Justin Smoke, Brewers' first baseman, hit a home run, so he lost the shutout and the no-hitter. The Cubs would go on to win 4-2. The Brewers can't find the bats. Check this, guys. Yu Darvish is on fire. He's 3-1. The Cubs, even though it is just a 60-game season, they are 13-3. They're off to their best start in franchise history. How about Mookie Betts? The Dodgers keep looking like geniuses with that Mookie Betts trade. Mookie Betts, 6th, 3 home run career game. Ties Johnny Mize and Sammy Sosa. Just crazy. Mookie's awesome, man. The MVP, AL MVP in 2018. It's crazy. Mookie is one of the, he's a top 5 player in this league, no doubt. Might even be top 3. And right now, it could even be the best in the league. We got a lot of young stars that are playing well, too. But Mookie, on fire for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers hanging tough with the Rockies, who are a surprise right now. The Rockies are in first in the NL West. And how about Charlie Blackmon, their center fielder, .472 batting average to start the season. He's trying to chase Ted Williams, get to 500, and wouldn't that be something? That's definitely a great storyline in Major League Baseball to start the year. How about the Tampa Bay Rays? They continue to hit as they wrapped up a 4-game sweep in Boston against the Red Sox. They scored 42 runs. So the Tampa Bay Rays have the bats hot right now. Many a surprise team, the Baltimore Orioles, in a 60-game season. John Smoltz touched on it in the Cubs-Brewers broadcast on Fox last night. We could see a surprise playoff team, and the Orioles right now sitting in third place in the AL East. They've won 5 in a row. They're in a playoff spot right now, and you would say the Orioles? Well, anything can happen. The Orioles playing well. 5 W's in a row. And our last thing, Major League Baseball will honor the Negro Leagues. Honor and celebrate the Negro Leagues on Sunday. This upcoming Sunday, we'll see the Negro League honored. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thanks for listening to the Dogsports podcast. We'll be back next week recapping NBA playoff games and action across the Major League Baseball diamond. Thank you. Take care, everyone.